Hi, I'm Catalina Maria Johnson, and on behalf of Beat Latino and ChicagoMusic.org, I'm talking to Federico Aubele, and he'll be visiting us soon, touring his new album, Five, which is about to come out, and all the way from Brooklyn, New York, but actually via Buenos Aires. Hi, Federico.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a sunny day here in New York. I'm not too happy actually about it because I thought I like the fall. I'm a big fan of the fall, and today feels like summer again, which I thought it was over already.
Well, it's interesting because your last album, your music is reminds me a lot of your homeland and of the tango, what I've heard. And there's some very wonderful tangos that have to do with the fall, and certainly a lot of that music has, that melancholic undertext. So tell us a little bit about this last album and how it differs, how Five differs from the other four.
Well, Five was a long process. It started right after I released Berlin 13, which was the previous one. It was a long process because it started going in one direction. Then just when I thought I finished it, then I realized that I actually wasn't done with it. So I started working on it again, and kept working on it, and then it took a completely different direction. And once it actually worked with a producer for a while, and but then again, at some point it reached again a point where I was like, it felt like it wasn't going anywhere. So I stopped again and let it rest, and then I picked it up again, and then the third attempt, which is the one that really made me feel that okay, now the record is really done. So it was a long process. It took me 2 years to do this whole thing. As with everything, these processes are usually very profound, deep, and intense, and they usually are strongly related with what's going on in your life, and on a psychological level, on everything. So it's really deep like that. It reconnected with some things. It added new elements, definitely. I mean, there are certain elements that are part of my DNA, if you want to call it. There's the nylon string guitar, of course. There's the bandoneon samples, that melancholic feeling that you were talking about before. That it's sort of embedded in tango, and you see a lot of that in Buenos Aires, and I got a lot of that in Berlin too, which is another city I love, and where I lived for a while. So those elements are definitely there. When it comes to the production, it adds some new elements, from the electronic side of things, which I like a lot. And so yeah, it's like being a cook. You're always trying to look for the perfect balance of all the ingredients and all the stuff that's there, all the elements. That's what takes a while. You feel like an alchemist in a way. It's a little bit of this, but no, that's too much of that. So it's a little less, and until you find a balance that kind of like make sure that every element marries the other elements, and then it kind of works.
So, what kind of a musical dish is this? What did you prepare? If you were to describe it.
It's I would say, and going back to the fall, it's definitely, I'd say, something you would order in the fall. Maybe some sort of really nice stew that you would eat with a nice big glass of red wine. Um, Spicy, um, warming. Because the thing with the fall that I was telling you about, it's when it's cold outside, you want to be warm inside.
Hmm.
And so I always feel like I'm trying to find this music that goes well with that sort of like warm intimacy that you want to have indoors, sort of. When I was living in Berlin, and I noticed these two in Stockholm, where I spent some time there. It's so cold outside. It's so cold outside. We're talking about minus 15 centigrades, minus 20 centigrades. It's very cold outside. that people have a whole like culture of being indoors, which is really beautiful. Actually, there's a lot of candles. People drink these really nice wines usually, and they have this whole ritual of being indoors, being cozy and nice indoors when outside it's freezing cold. So you feel, I don't know, it's very magical, and I always liked it a lot. So in a way, I guess my music sort of connects with that.
Well, it's interesting. The song I've listened to the most is Laberinto del Ayer, which
Yes.
is what, yesterday's, or the labyrinth of the past. I don't know how.
I would, yeah, I guess a proper translation would be something like that. Yeah, labyrinth of the past or
Uh-huh.
the labyrinth of the yesterday. Well, the yesterday, I don't think that that exists in English.
But it has some it has a beautiful mood and beautiful textures to it, and Natalia Clavier's voice added to it, a fellow Argentinian from the Thievery Corporation, also.
Yes.
So that that's a it's a beautiful beautiful record. So what do you think you've learned in the course of these 5 albums? I mean, have has anything changed or deepened, or
I think
what's the evolution of Federico Aubele been, towards what or away from what? I don't know.
yeah, I think it's a process, of course, but and it's never done really. But I think I learned certain pillars of my personality, which are represented in my music. I can recognize those, and parallel to that, there's pillars of my music that are always there. So that definitely I learned. I learned to keep exploring, never just like start circling around the same thing over and over again. However, when you explore, exploring is beautiful. Um, but as a lot of things, as everything that takes you out of your comfort zone involves certain risks. One of them is getting lost, and getting lost is not really the problem. The problem is being able to find out who you are again. Um,
Did you
uh,
feel you had gotten lost, or?
just get lost. I find out how to get back, but as the saying goes, the sailor that departs is not the same sailor that returns to the same port. So you do return to the same port, but you're a changed person when you return to your same port. And that's the purpose of traveling and of the trip. And making music is a trip, and life is a trip. So again, there are certain pillars that I think that really are part of my personality, pillars that I like, that I recognize. And then there's the always the need of getting out of that comfort zone and coming back with something, a little treasure. It's like those guys that search for pearls, pearl hunters in the sea.
Right.
They hold their breath really deep and they dive. They don't use any extra help, it's just them. They dive really, really, really deep to grab the oysters where they're going to find the pearls. It takes a lot of endurance because you have to hold your breath for a long time. However, these guys, by practicing, they are able to hold their breath for longer and longer. They're able to get deeper and deeper and get better pearls. So there's always a trip to pick up the treasure, but then you come back and you have the treasure. It's always important.
Wow. Well, we look forward to the pearls, the musical pearls coming our way. How will you present this in Chicago? What's the configuration of the live show?
We'll have this time. We'll have a quartet. It's going to be a keyboardist with all the beats and all the electronic percussion and all the machinery, if you want to call it. Natalia Clavier doing the female vocals.
Oh,
And
wow. I didn't know
yes,
Natalia would be here. That's awesome.
yeah, and me on vocals and guitar. Yeah.
No bandoneon?
No, I never brought a band because the I use the melodica for a lot of things. Sometimes people think that the melodica lines are actually bandoneons, but it's actually a melodica. And the few times I actually use bandoneons in my music, it's usually just samples, manipulated samples from pieces of music that I like. So I just record them and chop them up and cut them and it's like a collage. It is a collage,
It is a
basically.
collage, yeah. And even then, in some of the songs, there was something that was kind of Andean to me. I mean, kind of like,
It
that,
can
you
well
know,
be, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that was a surprise, but of course, it also adds to that. It's another layer of that kind of, I don't know, very deep longing and melancholy. It was beautiful.
Good. Thank you. I'm glad you
I,
like it.
so we look forward very much to your visit here in the near future. And if people want to find out more, they can go to the website. Your website, what's it? Is it federicoaubele.com?
.com, yeah, exactly, exactly.
federicoaubele.com.
Yeah,
And
and check out the Facebook as well, Federico Aubele official, and or the Twitter, Federico Aubele. Yeah.
okay, great. And I hope we have some proper fall weather for you.
Absolutely. I adore Chicago, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot, Federico.
Thank you very much, Catalina. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Adiós.